If you are struggling with your consistency to stay on track with your weight loss, let me ask you just one question. Do you have a plan? Have you planned out what you need to be doing in order to reach your goals? You know, here's the thing. If you keep doing what you always did, you're going to keep getting what you always got. So by the very nature of wanting to change, of wanting to do things differently, it is required to come up with a plan of how to do those things differently so that you don't just stay on the same old autopilot that kept you where you always were, right? That's logical. But, even though it is, and even though you're like, yeah, Heather, that's correct, it still requires us to sit down and be like, well, gosh, do I have a plan? Have I thought these things through? And if you haven't, let's take a few minutes. This is going to be fast because I got a meeting coming up. So I wanted to still just pop in today and have just a little mini strategy session to think about, okay, what are 7 things that I can do that I can make a plan about so that I can reach my goals? And who am I to be talking about this? I'm Heather Shooker. I'm a coach with the fasting method. And I too had to come up with a plan to change what I was doing for the first 45, 46 years that kept me obese into this new way of doing things for the last 2.5, pushing 3 years now of things that have kept me at a healthy weight. And so that is what I believe is required. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So let's start thinking about what strategies we need to implement in order to be able to reach those goals. First of all, have you thought about what your way of eating is going to be? Right? Sounds obvious, right? Of course I have. I'm going to be low carb. What does that mean? How many carbs? Right? Are you never going to eat another carbohydrate? And if you are, how often? Here's the thing, right? We have these kind of vague notions, but we haven't really kind of nailed ourselves down. And so we've got this kind of vague idea like Cookie Monster. Well, I'm still going to have them, but it's a sometimes food. Here's the problem, friend. It's always sometimes, right? Our little lizard brain will absolutely take advantage of that and just remind you constantly, well, you said you're going to still have this sometimes. It's sometimes again. Let's have it. And that tends to be one of those sabotaging behaviors that keeps people stuck, that keeps people from moving forward. So know what your way of eating is, not only, broadly, but also if you've decided I'm still going to have some sugar, I'm still going to have some refined grains, how often is that going to be? Is that once a week? Is that once a month? Is that only on birthdays and holidays? When is that going to be? Nail yourself down so that you really know, is this a sometimes or if not? Number 2, clear your food environment. It is incredibly tough to, come home from a long day of work or to be overwhelmed and stressed out and have just junk surrounding you. So one of the ways that we can plan for success is know that we're going to run out of willpower and not have the things that are in our house that are going to be a problem for us when that willpower runs out. Number 3, plan your meals, right? Have a plan for what you're going to eat. Not only what your general way of eating is, but get really tactical. On a week by week basis, do you have an idea of what you're going to eat for dinner every day? Because here's what happens if we don't. We just go back into our old way of thinking. We just go back on autopilot. It's like, I'm busy. I just can't think about it right now. I'll just eat whatever. I'll just eat what I always ate. And that's how we stay stuck, right? If we really want to do this thing, if we really want to make some changes, we got to get down in the trenches and look ahead. What is the week looking like? We got to have a grocery list. What are we going to bring into the house so that our environment is safe for us? And then on a given day, we need to know, what are we going to eat for dinner? Right? Like those kinds of things, like putting some time and work into those kinds of those plans it makes all the difference. The people that kind of have an idea of what's coming up are the people that they roll those new tapes, those new way of behaviors instead of just going back to their regular old autopilot. Number 4, What's the plan for your fast? Which days are you going to do that? Now, some people like me love to just go, okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, those are my fasting days. Others have a whole just, set of obstacles when it comes to their schedules that they have to duck and weave around. And if that's you, if you're a social butterfly and you know that there's this dinner coming up and then there's this luncheon and there's this thing, this kids sporting event, whatever, have you looked ahead at the week ahead and made a plan? When are my 3 therapeutic fasting days going to be? That's important, because if you just kind of are just going to react to life as you go through, oh, it's like, oh, I'll fit in 3 fasts. Are you? Are you really? When life keeps coming at you, it is so much kind of more calming and more likely that if you have a plan of when that's going to be, that when that day comes, you're not going to be like, oh, I don't feel like it. You're going to be like, oh, no, this is my day because I've already looked at it and I can't do it these other days. It's got to be now or never. And I want it to be now because I got goals to reach. Number 5, have a plan for restaurants and social occasions. Do you know what a winning strategy is not? A winning strategy is not, oh, I'll figure it out when I get there. Whoo, when you get there, when you're hungry, when you smell all the things, when the person next to you is ordering something that sounds really good, right? When somebody says you want to get some appetizers, you're like, yes, of course I want to get appetizers. I love them, right? Friend, that is not setting ourselves up for success. It is a much better strategy to go ahead and look at that menu ahead of time, have it in your plan, know that when I get there, this is what I'm going to order. I'm not even going to look at that menu. I know that there are things on there that I want and would rather eat right now instead, but I got goals to reach. So I'm going to have my plan. I'm going to stick to that plan. I'm going to order that while I'm out. And I'm not going to be one of those people that is constantly saying, well, I do great until the weekends and then I fall off the saddle because I'm eating out and it's social and da-da-da. Yup. Yes. You and all the other people that don't reach their goals. I'm sorry, that was mean. But it's because you don't have a plan. You don't have a strategy. This is the strategy. Think about it ahead of time so you don't get kind of caught unawares when, all of those tempting things and smells and whatever are coming at you and you're just like, screw it. I'll start tomorrow. Right? That's what not having a plan looks like. We're constantly starting tomorrow when it's easier, right? Oh, my future self will make some plans. Yeah, you know what? How's that working out? Has she been, or, is maybe present self needing to step up to the plate and start making plans? That future self can just enact, right? So that she's not trying to deal with that and life too. Just throwing that out there, food for thought. Number 6. How about, do you have a plan to manage the stress, the overwhelm, the emotional eating, the when the willpower runs out, the case of the screw-its, right? Do you have a plan for that? Because guess what? That's coming too. It's coming. Stress is coming. I'm so sorry. I'm not wishing it on you. I'm not like sending little voodoo vibes at you. I just know this is life, right? We don't run out of problems until we run out of breaths, right? Life is going to come at you. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so often I see people struggling to stay on track because they don't have a strategy in place to manage when life is complicated and stressful and overwhelming and exhausting. Manage, how am I going to deal with that when it comes? That looks like, am I taking a walk every day for my mental health and for my calm? Am I practicing meditation? Am I doing some things that will keep my kind of stress level from up here down to here so that the plans that I have set for myself are more likely to be enacted, that I'm not going to be so overwhelmed that I just can't. I'll start tomorrow. And then lastly, do you have a plan for accountability? That's number 7. Because you know what? This journey is long and it is exhausting and we all run out of steam. We all could use a little boost, a little spark of inspiration, a little something to keep us going. We can all know exactly what we need to do and then not do it because we just are tired. And it's just so much easier to do what we've always done and ate what we always ate and not fast. And nobody else has to do this. And why am I the only one that cares about being healthy? Has that ever rolled over you? Is that just me? Is it just me that comes up with that, right? Like it's a long journey, man. Life is long. Losing weight is hard. Sticking to your goals just, it runs out of its luster. The motivation just kind of fizzles and dissipates. And guess what successful people do? Guess what I had to do? I joined, a support group. I joined the fasting method community. And if you're not aware what that is, it's not just this Facebook group. It's behind a paywall, friends. It is a community, and we have 6 days of live meetings a week. And sometimes just kind of popping into one of those meetings. That's what I'm doing in a couple minutes. I'm starting one of those meetings, popping in, asking questions, getting support, hearing other people's struggles, hearing other people's victories makes a difference. Just kind of being in it and being in it with other people makes all the difference in the world. And if that's not enough, then maybe you need a coach. That's what I did. I hired a coach, and she was there for me every couple of weeks when I was like, oh my God, it's hard. Yeah, it is. Keep going. Keep going. And honestly, that was what I needed. I needed somebody who cared whether or not I did it, right? Who I could show up and be like, this is really hard. And she's like, yeah, it sure is. You gonna still do your 342s? Yes. Great. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Oh my gosh. She's now my personal hero. That would be Coach Terry. If you're not familiar, Dr. Coach Terry Lance was my coach. And that having her there, knowing that if I showed up as whiny as can be, she would be like, yep, yep, even whining, you can still reach goals. And it turns out that's the case. If you do not have a plan, friend, please make a plan, because that is what successful people do. We don't always execute it perfectly, but we show up with an idea of what we're going to do so that there's at least a chance that we're going to get it done, and not just fall back on our autopilot and expect to just magically stumble through and get to our goal. It's generally not the way it works. Have a plan, execute the plan, iterate the plan, and keep showing up. Make good choices.